My fingers numb. I picked up the sketchbook. The wire's spiral binding was twisted and bent. Flipping through the book, I saw that every page about the Hamlet case had been savagely ripped out. Somebody's been watching me, I thought. Somebody knows the London bus is my hideout. Somebody knows I was trying to find clues in the Hamlet case. Somebody knows I kept notes about those clues in my sketchbook. And somebody is very, very frightened. Frightened enough to threaten me. Who could it be? Guy? Immediately I shook my head. Not Guy. Guy's on my side. Guy's my friend. Guy helped me with the suspect list. Yet Guy was the only person who knew what I was doing. I slammed the steering wheel with the edge of my fist. The foul thing about this whole Hamlet case is that it was making me suspect everybody, even my closest friend. I've got to settle things in my own mind about Guy, I thought. Either he's my friend or he's my betrayer. Either he's on my side or he's the enemy. Means, I muttered out loud. Motive, opportunity. I've got to check Guy out. Means. Did he have the means to steal my sketchbook? Well, it doesn't take special tools to steal a sketchbook and marker. Guy wanders in and out of ye old bookstore all the time. Motive. What would be Guy's reason for stealing my sketchbook? Fear that I'd find out the truth? And he's a practical joker once in a while. Sheila told me so once. Maybe he did switch the restroom signs. That might almost be his style. But surely he wouldn't have done anything as vicious as the bench or the banner or the gang graffiti. Opportunity. No problem. Guy could have just walked into ye old bookstore while I was out of the room and grabbed the sketchbook. And Mom might not have heard because she would have been in another room helping a customer find a book about Emily Kimbrough. Suddenly I shook my head so sharply that my neck hurt. I'm not going to suspect Guy, I said out loud. I know him too well. But thoughts tumbled around in my head like the clothes in a dryer. Are you sure? Sure, I'm sure. How do you know he's not trying to get revenge on God for what happened to his dad? But he's talking about it. He's not bottling it up. He and I are wrestling with it together. Guy has never been the type of person to store things up inside him and then do sneaky things to get revenge. Is he? What a great detective I was. Guy had the means and opportunity, and maybe even the motive. I shook my head firmly and said out loud, I don't care. I know Guy too well. He and I go way back together. I'm just going to take it on faith that he's not the criminal. And before I could think any more thoughts, I clutched my sketchbook in my fist, slipped out of the bus, felt in my pocket to make sure I had a quarter, and walked to the phone booth in front of Mother Brown's. Guy, I said when he came on the line, new developments. Can you come over? Your office? Sure. Be quick. Together in my office, we bent over the angry scrawl in the sketchbook. I adjusted the gooseneck lamp so the message had the best light and glanced at Guy. His face was pinched and pale. Are you feeling the same way I am? I asked. How are you feeling? Sick and scared. Me too, he said. I mean, for a while, it was a game, sort of a puzzle. Two great detectives solving the country Hamlet mystery. But it's not fun anymore. I feel like a target. And whoever's behind this must be pretty sick or mad. Maybe both, he said, and very smart. I nodded glumly. Well, let's start detecting, he sighed. You say you were helping a woman customer find a book. Right. I'd never seen her before. Then Mom took her to a storage room, and I called you and went upstairs. So there was some time when nobody was in the main store. I nodded. He glanced at the words on the page. Chill out, Sherlock, or else. Can we deduce anything from this? I just remembered something, I said. Somebody called me Sherlock recently. He snapped his fingers. Mrs. Horton, at the center work bee when we found her purse. Maybe it's her we're after. But I'd already brought up the subject of detecting, and after that, it's natural for anyone to mention Sherlock Holmes. I picked up the magnifier and peered through it at the marker slashes. The lens seemed such a weak and insignificant tool to use against someone with such hatred. Well, I said, whoever it was didn't worry much about punctuation. There's no commas. Guy grinned. Well, that could be me. It's not you, I snapped. How do you know? Guy, don't joke about this. I'm really scared. His eyes opened wide at my emotion. Sorry. The punctuation may not mean anything, or it may mean everything. If the person knew how to punctuate, it would read, chill out, Sherlock, or else. Even one comma would have been better than none. So it was written by someone who might have gotten bad grades in English. Or, Guy warned, someone might be faking it. No, I said. Look at the printing. There's not a trace of dot to dot about this. Whoever wrote this was terribly angry. Those marker slashes look very confident. You can't be really mad and do something as subtle as faking your grammar knowledge at the same time. Guy's on the phone, said Mom the next morning, just after the shop had opened. You can't play too much today, though. I need you here. I took the phone, wishing that I could tell Mom how what Guy and I were doing was not playing anymore. Hi, get over to Craiglander's store, he said tensely. There's a sheriff there. Ice water ran down my spine. Mom, I said as I hung up, can I have just 15 minutes? I guess so, but hurry back. I dashed out the front door and across to Century Antiques. Bob Craiglander and a male deputy stood beside a white sheriff's car with green markings. Guy was watching from a respectful distance, and I joined him. What happened? Look for yourself. He jerked his thumb toward Craiglander's storefront. Built into Century Antiques' front is a glass door and a large window, but the rest is white painted wall. And on that wall, drawn in thick black marker strokes, was an ugly rash of occult symbols and foul profanity. My knees felt like jelly. That's my marker, I whispered to Guy. I'm sure of it. Shh. Again he jerked his thumb, this time in the direction of the sheriff's car. Now I could hear Bob Craiglander's angry voice. I've had it up to here. He gestured to his throat with vandalism. And I've had it up to here with the way the law just sits around and doesn't do anything about it. The deputy started to say something, but Mr. Craiglander cut him off. Now you listen to me. I'm going to give you a name, and I want you to follow up on that name. He glanced around at us and said to the deputy, come on inside. They disappeared into Century Antiques. At that instant, Mom called to me from the front of Ye Old Bookstore. Mark, the center just called. Can you help for a minute? Me? Yes, they said it won't take too long. I'll come with you, Guy offered. As we pounded into the center's parking lot, I was surprised to see no cars there. Mrs. Horton must have parked around back. The front door was open slightly, and Guy and I burst through it. We came to a stop in the middle of the room. "Mrs. Horton?" I called. Suddenly I heard the door slam behind me. We turned, and there, standing before us, with a menacing look of a hunted animal in his eyes, and my crumpled sketchbook pages in his left hand, stood Tony Stamford.